Stop what you're doing and hear me now. This cannot wait another second. I've watched you move through days with 1,000 distractions pulling your attention in every direction, but today, right now, your heart is finally still enough to sense my presence pressing against your spirit. You've run, you've fought, you've doubted, but something deep inside you has begun to whisper again, and that whisper is where I'm entering. You're not just hearing me with your ears anymore, you're beginning to receive me with your soul. I've waded through the noise of every conversation, every heartbreak, every delay, every confusion, and every closed door just to reach this precise moment where you are quiet enough to hear not only my voice but my urgency. I've tried speaking before, but your spirit was clouded by disappointment and anxiety that made my words sound distant. But now the weight you've carried has cracked the shell around your heart, and through that fracture, I'm sending a flood of clarity. My child, I have something to place in your hands that requires your full attention. Heaven is ready to move, but you must stay right here with me. Don't scroll away. Don't talk yourself out of this. Don't say I'll come back later. I don't want your partial focus. I want your complete surrender in this moment. I am here because this very second has been written into your timeline since before your birth. What I'm about to unfold next will realign your steps, restore your courage, and reroute your entire season. You're not hearing this by accident. Everything that's about to shift hinges on the fact that you've stopped, looked up, and let me speak. There's no more waiting on my side. Everything I've promised you is set in motion. But you must remain still long enough to receive this download from heaven. I've waited for this sliver of stillness in your heart to whisper what I've been shouting in the spiritual realm, and now you're ready, so I will not hold back. The skies are leaning low, the angels are on alert, and I've commanded time to stand still so this moment becomes the divine interruption you've been unknowingly crying out for. You're not here by coincidence. I've drawn you into this space with a heavenly assignment burning in my hand, and if you lean in now, if you remain present now, if you dare to believe this is me and not your imagination, I will hand you the keys that unlock the very thing you've been begging me to explain. Stop everything. Do not move. Do not doubt. Do not hesitate, because the opening begins now. Be still. Beloved, this is the precise second I've been drawing you toward, where every other sound fades, because what I'm about to disclose must reach you without interference. The chaos around you was never meant to define your direction. It only revealed the void where my whisper belongs. I've watched you attempt to tune me out with schedules, expectations, and empty distractions, but now the volume of this world has begun to tire you. That exhaustion is not failure, it's evidence you've grown hungry for truth. I'm cutting through the layers of distraction, not with a shout, but with stillness sharp enough to silence every lie you believed about yourself. You thought I was distant because I didn't respond the way you imagined, but my strategy has always been to remove the clutter first so my voice becomes unmistakable. You weren't abandoned. I've been nearby, waiting for this very stillness you're feeling now. Don't underestimate this silence. It holds a message more urgent than thunder. I'm not raising my voice to compete with your chaos. I'm inviting you deeper, into the dimension where divine strategies are revealed. It's not that I couldn't speak earlier, but I needed you to slow down long enough to distinguish between echoes of fear and the clarity of my instruction. This pause is pregnant with transformation. In this exact moment, I'm unraveling layers of confusion that have wrapped around your decisions. What I'm saying to you doesn't need interpretation, it needs your full attention. I'm not giving you a hint, I'm delivering precision. The instructions I'm releasing in this quiet space will position you in places no one expected you to stand. I'm not trying to impress you with loud displays, I'm preparing to elevate you through subtle, supernatural movements that only obedience can unlock. Those who once overlooked you will ask how you accessed wisdom beyond your experience, but they won't understand that it came from these hidden moments of stillness with me. You are not late, you are on the brink of a holy strategy unfolding. Every breath you take in this quiet is aligning you with a blueprint I designed specifically for your assignment. Others might dismiss what's happening now as a feeling or emotion, but you know this is deeper. This is a summons. And I will keep drawing you back to this still place until you're saturated with direction so clear, no counterfeit will distract you again. The silence is not empty, it's filled with the voice that can part seas, resurrect promises, and close doors you were never meant to walk through. I'm not interested in background noise, I want your full devotion here and now, because what I'm about to reveal next cannot be missed, delayed, or filtered through someone else's opinion. Remain here, breathe in this stillness, and hear me like you've never heard me before, because I'm not done speaking, and this is only the beginning of what I've waited to say for so long. You did imagine it, something truly has begun to stir, and that movement isn't coming from your strength. It's the evidence of my intervention behind the scenes. Forces beyond your understanding have already been instructed to bend in your favor, because where your hands grew tired, mine remained steady. While you wept in the quiet, I initiated a divine realignment so precise that even the storms meant to scatter you will start pushing you into position. You've been wondering why relationships are unraveling, why comfort zones are cracking, why certain things that once seemed stable now feel shaky, and this is why. I am loosening the grip of everything that kept you small. I'm not trying to break you. I'm disrupting anything that kept you bound to fear, delay, or second-guessing. Even the areas of your life that felt familiar but fruitless, I'm shifting those too, because I refuse to let you stay hidden where you were meant to shine. Your routines are being rerouted, not to frustrate you, but to prepare you for encounters that are impossible to script. I've already initiated conversations in rooms your name hasn't reached yet. I'm adjusting atmospheres, reassigning people, and unlocking resources that were once held back. What you thought was rejection was really redirection, and now it's unfolding right before your eyes. Doors are closing because I'm building a new hallway. Things that once made sense are losing their grip because I'm constructing something that exceeds logic. You don't need to panic when things feel out of your hands. That's where I begin. When you reach the edge of control, you've entered the realm of trust, and that's where I do my greatest work. Your hesitation will no longer be a hindrance because I've already moved the obstacles out of your way without requiring your permission. You asked me to move, and I did. But I didn't just nudge, I shook the foundation of what you called normal to make room for what's divine. Stop measuring progress by what you see. The most important changes are happening underneath. Just like the ground beneath a seed must break before anything grows, I'm shattering limitations so that you sprout with supernatural acceleration. This isn't just it's transition. It's not subtle, it's seismic. And even if you can't explain it, your spirit knows it. That unsettling feeling is your confirmation that what once held you no longer fits who you're becoming. You are evolving faster than those around you can understand, and that's okay. Don't shrink to stay familiar, expand because I'm enlarging your territory. You will return to the version of you that was afraid to step out. I'm equipping you with boldness wrapped in humility, wisdom drenched in fire, and discernment sharper than ever before. What's being lifted from your shoulders now is the weight of doing everything alone. I've stepped in not to assist but to lead. Let go of striving, because my hand has already initiated what your prayers barely had words to articulate. And I will not stop now. The shift has only just begun, and you're standing in the early rumble of a divine move that will redefine your entire trajectory. Stay close. Remain tuned in. Don't run back to what I'm removing. It's changing because I've stepped in, and I don't make partial shifts. I complete what I begin. I saw every cry that no one else witnessed, every tear that soaked your pillow while your lips couldn't even form a sentence, and I didn't turn away. Those cries reached dimensions far beyond your imagination. They were not ignored. They were collected, held, and answered at a pace that wasn't visible but always intentional. When you brought me your brokenness, I didn't despise it, I welcomed it. It gave me access to places within you that confidence never could. While you thought your anguish was too much to carry, I was already crafting a response that would not only heal but elevate you. This moment you're stepping into now is not random, it is an outcome of the groanings of your soul, the kind of intercession that words could not contain but heaven understood perfectly. I never forgot your surrender. Every time you gave me what little strength you had left, I recorded it. And I've been preparing a response that doesn't merely comfort, you're about to be clothed with strength that intimidates darkness. You weren't just asking for relief, you were unknowingly inviting me to rewrite chapters that were once stained with sorrow. I heard you, even when you thought no one was listening. I've been weaving the answers through layers of time, lining them with the exact second when your heart would be open enough to carry the weight of what's coming. This is that second. My response isn't gentle, it's fierce, deliberate, and undeniable. You won't just see improvement, you'll witness transformation so drastic, people around you will wonder if it's really you. But this isn't just about blessing, it's about revealing who I made you to be before trauma tried to alter your reflection. My power is not just arriving, it has already begun. It's showing up in subtle shifts and undeniable signs. Conversations are changing, opportunities are appearing without your effort, and your name is being mentioned by people who carry influence you've never even encountered. That's not coincidence, that's my signature. You're not climbing in your strength, I've lifted you to a vantage point where lies lose their grip. I'm not offering comfort alone, I'm releasing authority. You'll walk into rooms with nothing in your hand and leave with more than you asked for. You will not need to fight this battle with explanations, your elevation will be your vindication. No more pleading for validation. I've already affirmed you. You don't need to force anything into place, what's coming is magnetized to your obedience. You're about to feel my hand in areas that once only knew pain. The shift will not be emotional, it will be structural. Your foundation is being reinforced so that what I build through you will not collapse under pressure. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being fortified. You assumed you were delayed, but you were actually being prepared to handle an outcome far greater than what you originally requested. My power is not delayed, it's precise. And now, because you didn't quit in the depth of your pain, I'm releasing a divine reply that will touch every area your past tried to ruin. I'm not sending just a blessing, I'm sending proof that I was listening the whole time. What you called waiting, I called weaving. Every stretch of time that felt unproductive, every season where nothing seemed to move, every door that stayed locked while you knocked with trembling hands, none of it was wasted. You saw stillness, but I saw foundation. You experienced silence, but I was orchestrating encounters, building strength in you that applause could never produce. The pause was impalimented with Redirection. Had I given you what you asked for too soon, it would have overwhelmed your spirit and diluted your destiny. I withheld not out of rejection, but out of reverence for what I designed you to carry. There are levels of growth that can only emerge in the hidden place, where you are stretched without spotlight and refined without noise. The Redirection felt like confinement, but it was construction. What looked like limitation was incubation. I wasn't withholding to hurt you, I was developing the capacity in you to steward what I am about to release. Your character needed room to catch up with your calling. Your perspective required adjustment to discern what's from me and what's a distraction wearing the costume of opportunity. In the stillness, I was molding discernment, resilience, and wisdom into your bones. I was anchoring your identity so that once I opened the floodgates, you wouldn't drown in approval or lose your voice in the current of success. You've been misunderstood, underestimated, and even overlooked, but none of that halted my timeline. Your name isn't late. It's aligned. And now, you are stepping into a divine timing that does not apologize for its pace. Those who ran ahead will soon look back and see that you were not behind, you were just walking at the speed of obedience. You didn't skip the process. And now the oil on your life will carry a weight that cannot be faked. This next chapter isn't hurried, it's holy. It comes with a quiet authority, a knowing that can only be born through seasons of deep trust. I delayed the applause so your ears could be trained to hear only me. I postponed the stage so your roots could dig deep enough to hold the fruit I'm bringing. You are about to step into moments that make sense of every unanswered question, every postponed promise, every silent night. And it will be undeniable, not because it was loud, but because it was lasting. You won't have to prove that I was in it. The endurance of it will speak volumes. I did not forget you. I was forming you. And now, because you didn't rush what I was refining, I am releasing what cannot be taken, shaken, or stolen. The preparation season is ending not because I'm done working in you, but because you are now ready to carry what others would have wasted. I trusted you with waiting so I could trust you with fulfillment. This next move is not impulsive, it's prophetic. It's time to unlock doors that only respond to maturity, not popularity. And you, my beloved, are finally ready, not because you feel prepared, but because I say so. Not for a moment have you gonna noticed. Not in your confusion. Not in your joy. Not in your exhaustion. I didn't miss the way your shoulders sagged under pressure while you smiled so others wouldn't worry. I didn't overlook the sacrifices you made when no applause followed. Every time you lowered your voice to keep the peace, every time you carried weight that wasn't yours, I took note. You thought no one saw the times you held your tongue, chose mercy instead of revenge, stayed when it would have been easier to leave. But I did. I documented every selfless act, every whisper of trust, every decision to keep walking when your legs felt numb from the journey. You've never been invisible to me, not in your darkest valley, not on your highest mountain. I tracked each step you took through terrain that others couldn't survive. I watched you press forward without answers, keep believing while questions screamed louder than faith, and show kindness to those who didn't even know they were wounding you. I didn't look away when tears blurred your vision. In fact, I drew closer. My attention has always been fully yours. You never had to compete for it. While others were distracted, dismissive, or disconnected, I leaned in. While they misunderstood your heart, I memorized it. I know what triggers your fears and what awakens your hope. I've walked beside you through halls of silence, fields of delay, and storms of accusation. Even in moments you doubted my nearness, I remain. My presence was not absent just because your senses couldn't trace me. I was there building unseen strength, planting truth in places where lies once lived. The reason certain things didn't break you was because I stood between you and what was meant to destroy you. You thought you were barely making it, but I was carrying you through unseen fire. I did not turn my back when others turned theirs. I did not forget what you prayed for under your breath when you didn't have the energy to shout. I saw the quiet yes you gave me when you had every reason to walk away. You don't realize how much strength it takes to stay tender in a world that hardens hearts. And yet, you remain soft. That softness was not weakness, it was power wrapped in humility. It was evidence that you trust me more than outcomes. And for that, I honor you. I know this road has been long. I know your soul has begged for answers while pretending to be strong. But you need to know this now more than ever. I have never once lost track of you. Not during betrayal. Not in confusion. Not in silence. You've been on my radar before time began. Nothing you've been through surprised me. Nothing about your journey disqualified you. I didn't skip over you when blessings were handed out. I was saving something specific for a moment that required a deeper level of surrender. And now, the time is upon you. Because you've endured without demanding recognition, I'm about to elevate you without striving. You won't have to insert yourself, you will be invited. You won't chase doors, they will find you. You won't beg to be seen, visibility will follow my fader. What I've prepared for you isn't a reward for performance, it's a manifestation of my covenant with you. And I don't break promises. I don't lose sight. I don't skip children. You are not lost in the crowd, you are marked by my glory. Your life is not a background story, it's a frontline miracle unfolding. Don't assume the silence meant I wasn't watching. I was just working in ways you couldn't trace. But now, I'm making it obvious. You've been seen all along. And now the world is about to see what I've seen from the very beginning. Before a single calendar marked your beginning, your identity was spoken in rooms no human eye could see. You were not a mistake. You were not a reaction to circumstance. You were always part of a sacred design, etched into the eternal blueprint of my heart. I didn't wait for you to prove yourself. Before I acknowledged you, I knew who you were before you opened your eyes. While others formed opinions based on what they saw externally, I had already celebrated the fullness of who I made you to be. Long before you entered any space, I had already spoken your future into existence. Not one chapter of your journey was accidental. Even the seasons where you felt overlooked were intervals of positioning. The very sound of your voice echoes in heavenly places because I gave it authority before the earth gave it volume. You didn't need to earn favor, I placed it upon you before you took your first breath. When you walk, you carry the fragrance of purpose. When you speak, you release weight in the atmosphere that disrupts darkness without trying. You've never been ordinary, and that has always been why warfare surrounded your movement. The enemy didn't attack you because of your weakness, he targeted you because of your impact. Every setback was hell's attempt to discredit a name I already honored in heaven. You felt the resistance, but what you didn't see was how the angels encamped around your life to keep you standing when everything tried to pull you under. You thought you were barely holding on, but I was strengthening you from within, drawing out tenacity that only heaven knew existed inside of you. There's a rhythm to your story, and it aligns with a sound that was sung over your destiny long before time touched your skin. You weren't summoned by accident, you were selected for divine collision with moments such as this. What I've written concerning you cannot be erased by delay, criticism, or failure. Your name has been sealed in places no accusation can access. Even when others tried to label you, I refused to let their definitions rewrite what I already authored. The labels people placed on you were based on limited understanding. I formed you out of eternal vision. They saw your flaws. I saw the assignment. They saw your history. I saw your harvest. While people questioned your qualifications, I preserved your position. And now, what was hidden in obscurity is about to be released with undeniable clarity. Because you didn't demand recognition, I'm establishing your voice without resistance. You didn't seek a spotlight, I'm handing you an assignment. You didn't crave status, I'm surrounding you with significance. This isn't about popularity, it's about purpose that's been matured in silence and tested by fire. I don't whisper names into eternity unless I plan to release them in history. And yours, yes. Yours has been carved into divine timelines that are now unlocking because you remained faithful even when understanding was absent. Every moment you stayed when quitting felt easier, every time you chose to love when hate would have been justified, every breath you used to declare my promises in the face of impossibility, all of it moved things in realms you couldn't see. I didn't forget your name in the crowd, I whispered it at every turning point, breathed over it at every crossroad, and wrapped it in favor that's now finding you with force. What's coming isn't random, its arrival is synchronized with this very moment because I ordained it to collide with your readiness. Others may have dismissed your worth, but I never needed their agreement to fulfill what I declared. Your silence didn't silence me. Their doubt didn't delay me. You've always been mine, and your name has always mattered where it counts most, at the throne where destinies are activated and voices are authorized. So walk forward now, not in arrogance but in assurance. You are not stepping into this moment as a stranger, you are returning to a place your name has already been known. The place you assumed was your final chapter is actually turning into a doorway. You didn't recognize it at first, because endings often disguise themselves in disappointment. But what felt like collapse was really me clearing space. You thought it was over, that everything you'd built was slipping through your hands, but I was undoing what no longer served your growth. You misinterpreted the crumbling as failure, but I was initiating a holy reset. I'm not recycling your past, I'm birthing something that has no blueprint except what I placed in your spirit. When things fell apart, you assumed I had walked away. Yet, I was closer in that unraveling than at any other moment. I held the pieces as they broke, catching every shard and preparing them for resurrection, not restoration of the old, but resurrection into something unrecognizably greater. That relationship that shattered, the opportunity that vanished, the season that closed so abruptly it wasn't punishment. It was transition dressed in pain. You were gripping what you thought you couldn't live without, and I was gently removing it to place something eternal in your grasp. If I had allowed it to remain, it would have slowly drained your strength. You weren't meant to survive in maintenance mode, you were created to thrive in alignment. I didn't just reroute your journey, I rewrote your direction entirely. It had to end there so I could begin here. The space where you felt most abandoned is about to be flooded with favor you didn't even know you could carry. The very area where you mourned is now the place I've marked for miracles. The transition hurt, yes, but it produced the soil where my promises can finally take root without resistance. You feared you'd never feel joy again, never regain what was lost, but what I'm about to do isn't a replacement. It's an outpouring. I'm not returning what was removed, I'm introducing what's always been reserved. You cried over what ended, but you haven't yet imagined what's on its way. It's not just a fresh season, it's a new dimension. You're not going back to anything, you're going forward into everything. I know how tightly you held on. I saw how hard it was to release what you love. But now I'm revealing why I asked you to let go. You didn't lose, you relaunched. And now, the very ashes you sat in are about to witness beauty that only heaven could orchestrate. What's emerging isn't familiar, and that's why it scared you. But I haven't brought you this far to abandon you in confusion. I've brought you here to awaken a vision that was buried beneath survival. This is the place where dreams are reactivated, where identity gets reintroduced, where calling becomes undeniable. The door that slammed shut was not your ending. It was the final seal on a chapter I've already outgrown for you. And now, new is approaching. Not just new circumstances, but new perspective, new confidence, new clarity, new strength. You won't be building on damaged foundations anymore. I've cleared the ground so you can construct without compromise. Don't reach backward. Don't mourn what I removed. Don't chase what couldn't stay. Fix your focus on what's being unveiled. Your ladder will not look like your former. You're not picking up where you left off, you're stepping into something altogether fresh. Even your rhythm will change. Your thoughts will align with truth more quickly. Your decisions will carry peace rather than pressure. This beginning doesn't need permission from your past, it only requires your yes right now. I am not asking you to understand it fully, I'm asking you to trust me completely. I am the God who makes rivers in deserts, who breathes life into dry places, who brings the dead back to life. And what you believed was buried forever is about to rise with power you never imagined. The end you feared was only a veil. Pull it back. What's waiting behind it is glory. Despite what circumstances made you believe, nothing I have authored for you has been forfeited. Time may have moved, people may have shifted, opportunities may have seemed to fade, but what I sealed with my promise remains untouched. You thought delay meant loss, that maybe you misstepped, that somehow you fell behind a timeline you were supposed to maintain. But I do not operate according to pressure. I move by purpose. And purpose cannot be stolen, it can only be hidden until the moment it's safe to release. You feared it was too late, that you missed your moment while others seemed to progress ahead of you. But what you didn't see was how I shielded your portion, not because you were unworthy of receiving it, but because I was waiting for you to be strong enough to carry it with confidence, not survival. Nothing I prepared for you has been handed to another. What I set aside for your hands will not fit anyone else's grip. The blessings, alignments, assignments, I tucked them away, guarded them fiercely, and locked them behind doors that only opened to your obedience. They weren't snatched away. They weren't given to someone who worked harder or believed more boldly. They were simply preserved like seed in dry ground, waiting for the precise environment where they could bloom without being trampled. I allowed uncertainty or not to punish but to protect. I saw traps ahead that you couldn't yet discern. I rerouted you around destruction that would have disguised itself as success. You cried over missed chances, but I was weeping with you, not because you lost anything, but because I knew you didn't yet see how I was keeping it safe for later. The job you didn't get. I kept you from being drained. The relationship that didn't last. I spared your heart from cycles it couldn't break on its own. The place you weren't accepted. I was shielding your value from environments that would have diluted your light. What's for you has not vanished, it's been growing, maturing, aligning, and getting more refined while you were learning who you are apart from everyone else's expectations. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not overlooked. I timed every intersection, every opening, every introduction. Even the seasons where you felt stagnant were full of preparation you didn't recognize. I was strengthening your discernment, sharpening your insight, deepening your resilience. Because what I'm about to place in your life isn't temporary, it's legacy. You'll step into spaces you once only dreamed of, but this time, you'll walk in with the wisdom to maintain it. I didn't just want you to arrive, I want you to remain. And for that, I had to prepare the room as thoroughly as I prepared you. No one else can sit in your seat. No one else can walk out what I designed with your name written in the blueprint. I have not replaced you. I have not rewritten your role. I have only refined the timing so that when fulfillment arrives, it won't create pressure, it'll feel like peace. You won't have to strive to keep it. You'll know it's yours because it will fit not only externally but deeply, internally, spiritually. What's yours will no longer cause inner contradiction. You won't have to convince yourself that you're ready. I will confirm it in a way that silences every lingering doubt. You'll see doors open not because you knocked loudly, but because you've been chosen. This is not a moment to fear you've lost too much time. This is the unveiling of everything that's been waiting to meet you when you were truly ready to carry it. So lift your head. Straighten your posture. Wipe your tears. I'm bringing you to what has been yours all along. You didn't miss it. I've been holding it just for you. Every ache that echoed through your bones, every sorrow that folded your soul inward, every wave of agony that drenched your prayers in trembling, none of it dissolved into nothing. What wounded you didn't wing. What crushed your confidence didn't cancel your calling. I have taken every ounce of what hurt you and transformed it into the very essence of your access. What once weakened you is now being repurposed as evidence of your authority. I did not allow the suffering to define you, I allowed it to shape the doorway. The tears you tried to hide became the ink I used to script the next chapter of your mission. You didn't bleed in vain. You didn't fight shadows for no reason. That pain forged something inside you that cannot be replicated through ease. You carry an authenticity born in the dark, and that authenticity is now a currency in realms you're about to enter. I've watched you sit in silence with no answers. I saw how you reached for me even when bitterness tried to build a wall around your hope. I watched you walk through rejection without letting it harden your spirit. You didn't let despair own you, you kept rising, even if it was just a whisper. I trust you, when everything felt shattered. That was never weakness. That was unshakable faith in its most raw form. And that faith has drawn my presence closer than you've ever known. You see, pain is not always punishment. Often, it's preparation. You were being trained to recognize truth in a world that rewards illusion. You learned to hear my voice when everything else screamed louder. You became sensitive in ways others overlook because they've never been broken enough to pay attention to whispers. I allowed you to sit with sorrow so that you'd learn how to walk with healing. Now that you've made it through the unbearable, you're no longer guessing who you are. You know. You touch the floor of grief, and because of that, you've become grounded in grace. That's why what's coming next won't scare you. You've already survived what should have silenced you. Your endurance had been tested not in spotlight but in hiddenness. That means your capacity has outgrown what used to intimidate you. You will walk into places that once made you question your worth, and this time, you'll enter with stillness, not striving. This is what the struggle produced, not just resilience, but revelation. Revelation about who you are. Revelation about who I am. Revelation about what truly matters. And now, every scar you carry is no longer a symbol of defeat, it's a signature of grace. When people ask how you carry so much peace, they won't realize it was birthed in the fire. They'll see strength, but won't know the nights it was forged in anguish. They'll admire your wisdom but not understand it was built from the ruins of misunderstanding and the ashes of disappointment. That's okay. They don't need to know every detail. What they need is the fruit of your survival. You'll speak, and shackles will break not because you studied solutions but because you lived through the problem and held on to me. You'll comfort others, not with cliches but with depth. Your story is sacred. Your wounds have a voice now, not to glorify the pain, but to glorify the one who pulled you through it. I'm sending people who need what you carry. You'll recognize their battles not because you read about them, but because you lived them. And you'll release freedom not because you rehearsed it, but because you fought for it in secret. The very thing you thought disqualified you is the exact thing I'm using to unlock the next door. Your pain wasn't pointless. It was prophetic. It prepared the stage for this moment. So don't shrink. Don't apologize for the fire that forged your mantle. Wear it like the royal garment it is. Because now, the key is in your hand and the lock is about to turn. What I've prepared for your life is not unguarded. It's not exposed to attack, and it's not at the mercy of circumstances. I have stationed heavenly warriors around the fulfillment I've designed for you. Every promise is surrounded by my protection. Every door I've appointed for your entrance is under divine surveillance. Nothing will invade the ground I've claimed for you, not confusion, not sabotage, not dissection. Even when you couldn't see what was taking shape, I assigned heavenly beings to stand watch. While you were battling in your thoughts, angels were being deployed with specific instructions. Do not allow anything unholy to contaminate what belongs to my child. Your portion is not up for negotiation. The assignments that carry your name are not being passed around carelessly. What I've intended for your hands will not be touched by those who would mishandle it. You don't have to fight to hold what I've already secured. You don't have to defend it. I've already set boundaries no enemy can cross. These guards I've placed are not symbolic, they are strategic. They've been positioned at every intersection of your future, ensuring that what arrives to you is untouched by sabotage and unaltered by delay. Even the enemy has tried to get close, thinking he could slip through unseen. But I halted him. I made it so that no scheme could bypass the holy perimeter I've drawn around your blessing. What's coming to you will not arrive tainted. It won't show up broken. It won't reach you diminished or drained. It's being preserved in wholeness, complete, radiant, ready. You feared before that by the time your promise arrived, it would be too late or too compromised. Let me silence that lie now. I'm not sending leftovers. I'm delivering fullness. Heaven doesn't deal in scraps, I give overflow. You don't need to look over your shoulder to see if someone's taking what's yours. I've already locked it in. You don't have to rush into places out of anxiety, hoping to grab hold before it disappears. The timing of your arrival hath been synchronized with my will. You will not be early, and you will not be late. You will step into what I've orchestrated precisely when your heart is ready to receive without striving. And when you do, it will be untouched, pure, reserved. I've been protecting your miracle in the same way I protected you, gently but firmly, invisibly yet intentionally. The reason certain auctions never worked out for others is because I blocked access. I didn't allow imitators to occupy your inheritance. What is yours will not arrive in someone else's hands. It will be brought directly to you, wrapped in peace, sealed with my authority, and delivered in a way that confirms this could only be me. You won't have to fight off counterfeits in this next season, because I've already cleared them out. My angels didn't just stand beside you during the pain, they've been standing around your promise, encircling it like a fortress of light. They've formed a protective ring over your next chapter so that nothing unclean can interfere. Not every delay was a setback, some were acts of mercy, moments when I halted the timeline to allow the guards to complete their task. I would rather pause your progress than risk exposing you to harm. What I do fully. And when you walk into this next place, you'll sense it. You'll feel the holiness in the air. The peace will be so heavy you'll know it's not human-made. You'll step across thresholds that haven't been touched by opposition, because I've gone before you with fire, clearing the path, warning darkness not to trespass. What's been prepared will look untouched because I haven't let it be handled by anyone but me. You've waited long, and that wait has not been passive, it's been sacred. I didn't just prepare the blessing for you. I've made sure it stays undefiled. You will not receive fragments. You will receive the fullness. And when it lands in your life, you'll know. This was always meant for me and nothing dared to steal it. Each time you believed when it was easier to quit, the unseen world responded. When you clung to hope in silence, when you worshiped through heaviness, when you prayed without results, when you spoke life over situations that mocked your declarations, those moments weren't small to me. They were seismic. Your persistent belief became a roar in the spirit that angels could not ignore and darkness could not withstand. You thought no one saw the strength it took just to keep going, but heaven was paying close attention. I measured every ounce of your perseverance, and with each act of trust, authority increased around you. You didn't just survive storms, you activated movements in realms your eyes couldn't see. What you called weakness was actually warfare. What felt like fragility was intercession laced in surrender. I watched you stand when confusion screamed louder than certainty. I listened as you spoke my name while fear tried to silence your confidence. It wasn't just you holding on, it was you releasing weight that bent demonic resistance. I didn't need you to be perfect. I needed you to keep believing. And you did. Even when your voice cracked. Even when your eyes flooded. Even when your heart questioned. I saw it all, and I moved accordingly. Chains that had been wrapped around generations began to tremble when you refused to back down. Patterns that gripped your bloodline started crumbling the moment you chose to trust me more than your pain. You weren't just surviving, you were shifting atmosphere. Your presence in the place where others gave up became a holy disruption. Demons that were assigned to distract you had to flee, not because of your strength, but because of your refusal to stop saying my name. Faith, when pure, doesn't scream, it resonates. It vibrates in the unseen. It knocks on the doors of destiny and shakes the dust off ancient promises. That's what you've been doing. You may not have realized it, but you've been echoing eternity every time you whispered, I still believe. That whisper was louder than thunder in the heavens. It summoned hosts of angels to encamp around your circumstances. You see, every act of trust sends ripples across dimensions. Your consistency has caused alignment to accelerate. Portals have opened that were previously blocked not by force, but by faith. Your tears watered ground where miracles are now being planted. And soon, you'll see the bloom. Others may have laughed at your persistence. They didn't understand why you still prayed, why you still hoped, why you didn't fold under pressure. But you knew somewhere deep inside that something sacred was forming. And you were right. I never required you to feel brave, I only asked you to stay connected. And because you did, I'm now releasing favor that has been waiting for your heart to cross this line of surrender. You are no longer where you were. That place of wondering, of not knowing, of wondering if I'd respond, it's behind you now. You've reached a threshold. And now the doors that your belief unlocked will begin swinging wide. What others tried to achieve through effort, you'll access through trust. This season will be built by striving, it will be built by standing. Because you stood, I'm sending things you didn't even ask for. Because you stayed faithful, I'm granting you visibility in places where your voice will carry influence. You may feel small, but the heavens call you mighty. You may feel weary, but the angels call you unstoppable. Your journey didn't disqualify you, it distinguished you. Your scars didn't make you weak, they marked you as someone who's learned to worship in the fire. And now, I'm breathing wind on everything your faith has touched. This is no longer about survival, this is about demonstration. I'm revealing the weight of your belief by manifesting answers you thought were delayed. Your voice has echoed in spiritual realms, and now the response is cascading into the natural. The shaking has already begun. In the moments when you looked around and saw no one standing with you, when the silence felt suffocating and the weight of everything pressed down so hard you wondered if you would make it to the next sunrise, I was there. I never withdrew. I never distanced myself. I didn't wait for you to invite me, and I never left. Even when you questioned my nearness, I remained at your side, not as a spectator, but as a shield, as the one holding you upright when your spirit buckled beneath invisible battles. You didn't recognize my touch because it didn't always come through emotion. You didn't always feel me, but that didn't mean I was absent. I was wrapped around your weariness, resting my presence in places no human words could reach. When you cried without understanding why, I was the calm that kept your breath steady. When your thoughts spiraled with fear, I was the anchor beneath the storm. I wasn't distant, I was beneath your surface, holding your essence together while everything external tried to pull you apart. I drew near in ways your mind couldn't trace, because I don't require recognition to remain faithful. My loyalty isn't conditional. You never had to earn my closeness with perfect faith or perfect choices. You never had to impress me with strength you didn't have. I didn't demand performance. I sat with you in silence. I stayed when others left. I listened when no one else asked, "Are you okay?" I held the parts of you even you didn't know were breaking. I've always been drawn to brokenness, not because I enjoy pain, but because I specialize in healing from the inside out. I remained through your doubts, through your anger, through your confusion. You didn't scare me away with your questions. I welcomed them, because they meant your heart was still searching for truth. And I am truth. Every whisper in the dark, every desperate plea spoken under your breath, every pause where words wouldn't come but your soul still reached, those were all moments where my closeness intensified. You didn't see the angels I sent to stand by your bed when sleep wouldn't come. You didn't notice how I protected your mind from going numb when hopelessness wanted to take over. You couldn't feel the light I placed above your path when everything looked gray. But I did all of it, because I never intended for you to walk alone. Loneliness was never part of your design, it was an illusion created by emotion. And I'm breaking that illusion now. You are surrounded. You are watched over. You are held in ways that human arms could never replicate. I am the God who doesn't wait for crowds to gather before showing up. I'm the one who leaves the 99 to find the one who's been crying in isolation. You were never abandoned, you were being wrapped in unseen love, a love so deep it doesn't need to be proven through circumstances. I want you to understand something. My proximity isn't dependent on your performance. You don't have to pray a certain way or worship with eloquence to summon me. I'm drawn to authenticity. Your tears were holy to me. Your sighs were sacred. Even when you tried to keep it all together for everyone else, I saw the truth and I stepped in to be the comfort you didn't think you deserved. I've sat beside you in traffic, in your room, in hospital chairs, in quiet kitchens, places where nobody would expect glory to dwell. But I was there. Always. My nearness wasn't delayed. It wasn't restrained. It was constant, unwavering, consistent. And now that your spirit is becoming aware of it, you'll begin to sense me in ways you never have. The weight that's been pressing on you is lifting, not because your situation changed, but because your awareness of my nearness is awakening. I am not a visitor in your life. I'm the ever-present one. And now that you see it, now that you know, I can show you just how much I've held together that you didn't even realize was unraveling. You thought you were alone. You never were. Every word I've ever spoken over you still stands, untouched by delay, unaffected by confusion, unharmed by detours. Yet because the journey didn't look the way you imagined doesn't mean the destination changed. I am not like people who retract their intentions when progress slows. I don't revise my commitment based on circumstances. What I declared concerning you still pulses with life. The vision you once carried in your heart, the dream you thought had faded into silence, that has never left my hands. Even when you let go, I held on. Even when you questioned if you had misunderstood me, I continued working behind the scenes, assembling every detail. Just because you haven't seen full manifestation doesn't mean the promise dissolved. It simply means the roots were growing deeper, beneath the surface, out of sight, but not out of purpose. I'm not a passive observer of your life. I'm the author of every step you're about to take. Nothing in your past was strong enough to erase the blueprint I wrote in eternity. I never promised instant gratification. I promised divine fulfillment. And fulfillment is not fragile. It doesn't collapse under pressure. It doesn't get derailed by wrong turns. It doesn't crumble when time passes. It waits until the conditions align with what I intended, not just for you, but for those connected to your assignment. You see, the promise is bigger than what you imagined. It wasn't just about you receiving something, it was about who you'd become through the wait. I never stopped building it, I just slowed it down so your heart could grow big enough to carry it well. What I have planned won't demand that you strive to hold it together. It will flow in harmony with your healing. It won't feel like a reward for endurance, it will feel like a natural extension of who I've shaped you into. I never spoke empty words over your life. When I called you chosen, I meant it. When I said you'd walk in favor, I wasn't exaggerating. When I whispered breakthrough, I wasn't offering comfort, I was announcing reality before it was visible. And now, that reality is beginning to rise. The pieces are clicking into place. People are being moved. Resources are shifting. Timing is turning. What felt like delay was divine choreography. You thought nothing was happening, but everything was moving. It's been unfolding quietly, like a seed in the dark, waiting for the moment when light hits and everything accelerates. That moment is now. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. It's not arriving all at once, but it has begun. The signs are subtle conversations you did expect. Doors opening without effort. Peace returning where pressure once lived. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. My hand is on it. My fingerprint is everywhere. I am breathing on the things I once only hinted at. You asked me if you missed it. You did. You asked if it passed you by. It hasn't. You asked if it expired. It didn't. What I promised is coming forth not as a hope, but as a harvest. You don't need to prove anything to receive it. You don't need to force it to happen. Your only job now is to recognize it, to remain present, to refuse to let fear interpret the process. This isn't a replay of your past. This is a brand new chapter with a divine ink that cannot be erased. I'm not calling you to revisit what once hurt you, I'm inviting you to rise into what was always reserved for you. The promise isn't shaking, it's solid. It's rooted. It's fire-tested. It has outlasted every storm. And so have you. You were shaped in the silence for this moment. You are no longer asking if it will happen, you're about to walk into what I already said would be. Don't let impatience distract you. Don't let noise confuse you. Watch carefully. Listen closely. You'll know it when it reaches you. Because it will come with a peace that doesn't compete for attention. It will carry a weight that feels like destiny, not pressure. And when it unfolds fully, you'll realize I was never late. I was only preparing something worth waiting for. You grieved their absence, but I celebrated your safety. The connections that dissolved, the relationships that drifted, the bonds that suddenly fractured, those weren't accidents. They were interventions. You saw it as rejection, but I saw it as redirection away from patterns that would have poisoned your promise. Some ties looked good on the surface, but beneath that surface, they were silently eroding your discernment. I'm not cruel when I close doors, I'm careful. I never subtract without purpose. When I pull someone out of your life, it isn't because they had no value, it's because their presence could have compromised what I was constructing in you. There were conversations you weren't meant to hear anymore, habits you couldn't afford to imitate, atmospheres that couldn't accompany your elevation. And so I stepped in and shifted the alignment. It hurt, I know. I saw the confusion. I witnessed the way you questioned your worth when people walked without explanation. But I need you to know it wasn't your fault. Their leaving was a mercy dressed like heartbreak. I removed their influence because your calling requires clarity, and they were clouding your identity with their assumptions. You were beginning to absorb expectations that I never placed on you. You were molding parts of yourself to maintain connection instead of pursuing transformation. And I love you too much to let your destiny shrink to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. That's why I allowed the shaking. That's why certain ties didn't survive the shift. They weren't meant to. You weren't being abandoned, you were being preserved. The silence they left behind was a space for me to speak louder. The void became a canvas for me to paint something truer. I didn't let you sink in isolation, I walked closer when others stepped back. The departure wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You needed solitude to remember your original design, to strip away the voices that diluted your direction. What I'm calling you into now can't be filtered through the lens of old connections. You don't need permission from people who never saw your fullness to begin with. You don't need validation from circles that only loved the version of you that kept shrinking to be accepted. I've seen who you're becoming, and that person cannot be built in the presence of those who only loved fragments. I'm raising the frequency of your environment. I'm aligning you with individuals who speak life, who pray without jealousy, who walk in truth without manipulation. You've outgrown spaces that once felt like home, not because you're arrogant, but because you've awakened. Growth exposes limits. You reach the edge of certain friendships because your spirit started stretching, and that stretching made comfort uncomfortable. Don't mourn what I've moved. Don't chase what I've cleared. What's ahead demands focus, not fragmentation. I'm sending people who can handle your fire without trying to extinguish it. I'm surrounding you with voices that echo what I've already been speaking in secret. I'm establishing a new rhythm in your relationships, one built on covenant, not convenience. No more codependent attachments masked as loyalty. No more performing to avoid abandonment. I'm bringing companions who sharpen you, not shadow you. You'll laugh again, not just from humor, but from healing. You'll speak without filtering. You'll rest around people who don't compete with your calling. And when they show up, you'll recognize them by the peace they carry. They won't need a long explanation, they'll just fit, not force. But before that divine connection appears, I had to sever what no longer aligned. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. You're not alone, you're being recalibrated. The losses you counted were actually exits I authored. And what I remove, I replace, but with better, with purer, with stronger. You thought it was falling apart. But really, I was pruning the garden of your life so what's about to bloom has room to breathe. And now, you're about to see why certain people had to go, because what's coming can't be mishandled again. They didn't see its worth, but I always did. They mishandled what was holy, misjudged what was precious, and walked away from something they weren't called to carry. But what others dismissed, I preserved, not for them, but for you. They departed from spaces that required depth, endurance, and vision, and that's where I began setting the stage for your arrival. When they left, you thought you were losing something irreplaceable. You saw it as collapse, as closure, as final. But what was truly happening was a divine exchange. I removed the ones who only came for what was convenient and reserved the breakthrough for the one who endured what they could not. You didn't run. You didn't abandon your post. You didn't compromise when pressure mounted. You stayed even when staying meant standing alone. And that's why now, I'm placing into your hands the very thing others didn't value enough to protect. You see, they treated the space as ordinary because they couldn't recognize sacred ground. What you wept there, you prayed there, you worshiped there, you bled there. That place became an altar to me long before the platform appeared. And now, I'm handing you the keys to a promise that's been guarded until your spirit was strong enough to hold it. You've been asking me why they walked away. You've wrestled with confusion, wondering if their absence meant you were somehow unworthy. But I need you to hear me clearly now. They left because the weight of what's coming was never theirs to bear. Their exit wasn't punishment, it was prophecy being fulfilled. I allowed them to leave, not to hurt you, but to make room for your appointment. They couldn't carry the oil that I've been producing in you through pressure, wilderness, and waiting. And I don't waste oil. I assign it. I pour it. And now, I'm about to release it on you. You were faithful over the fragments, and now I'm placing you in fullness. You honored me in the waiting, and now I'm establishing you in the answer. They left it behind, but you're about to build it. They gave up on it, but you're going to grow it. And when I walk you into this next chapter, it won't resemble anything they once touched. It will be new, cleansed, consecrated. What I'm walking you into hasn't been abandoned, it's been waiting. It didn't expire when they exited. It matured. It deepened. It multiplied while you were being prepared in secret. Now is the time. The tables are turning. The ones who thought they were walking away from nothing will see the glory rise where they left dust. You will plant, and it will flourish. You will speak, and it will break barriers. You will lead, and chains will fall off others. Because I'm not walking you into something average, I'm leading you into something anointed. And you're not stepping in as a substitute, you're stepping in as the original choice. The one I marked, the one I molded, the one I trusted. And no one can take your place. And no one can wear your mantle. No one can mimic your obedience. You've paid a price in secret that they didn't see, and now I'm rewarding what only I witnessed. When you step into it, you won't have to fight for position. The ground will recognize you. The assignment will flow to you. The weight will fit your shoulders because it was always sized for you. You will not inherit what's been contaminated, you will walk into what's been consecrated. What they forfeited out of frustration, you're about to receive with fire. And you won't have to announce it. The fruit will speak for itself. The favor will reveal what I've been doing all along. I'm walking you into rooms they exited prematurely. I'm giving you access to influence they could never handle. I'm establishing you in territory they were never called to conquer. And I'm doing it not because they failed, but because you remain. What they let go of, I'm placing into your hands, restored, redeemed, reignited. This is your moment. Step in boldly. You walk through seasons that threaten to consume everything: your joy, your clarity, your sense of identity. The heat of betrayal, the burn of disappointment, the searing sting of delay, it all tried to brand you permanently with loss. But look at you now. You're still standing. And not only are you standing, but you're rising from those ashes untouched by the residue others expected you to carry. You didn't smell like what you survived. You didn't wear your wounds as chains. I preserved something in you while the furnace roared around your faith. You see, this wasn't just about survival, it was about proving that your spirit could hold my presence even under pressure. You were refined, not destroyed. Every flame that was meant to ruin you ended up igniting your true nature. Others looked on and assumed you'd break under the weight of it, but they didn't see me standing with you. They didn't recognize the four-figure in the fire. I was there, not watching but shielding. I didn't pull you out immediately because there was something sacred happening inside the very thing you begged me to end. That fire didn't scorch you, it sanctified you. It burned off what wasn't eternal. It severed attachments to things that could not go with you into this next season. It stripped illusions, melted pride, and forced you to lean on me in ways that shallow seasons never required. You didn't just pass through flames, you carried revelation through them. You learned to listen in chaos, to discern without explanation, to walk without sight. And now, you're emerging, not limping but glowing. Not resentful but reborn. You're not a victim of what happened, you're a witness of what couldn't hold you. The very atmosphere that tried to suffocate your purpose became the backdrop for your becoming. You have scars, yes, but not the kind that bleed. The kind that prove you've been through something real and came out with more than you had before. You came out with understanding, with stillness, with wisdom, with oil. That fire cost you comfort, but it awakened a strength in you that can't be undone. You see clear now. You trust deeper. You don't flinch at shadows anymore, because you've been in darkness and discovered light that doesn't depend on circumstances. I allowed the flames, not to destroy, but to distinguish you. Many talk about faith, but you walked it out when nothing made sense. And that kind of faith changes everything. It attracts a level of authority that can't be taught. It qualifies you for assignments others aren't prepared to carry. You're not emerging as you were. You're coming out marked by resilience, cloaked in glory, and equipped to lead others out of fires they think will never end. Your voice carries weight now. Your words don't echo, they establish. Because you've spoken from the furnace and still declared, God is with me. And the declaration didn't just shake the heavens, it sent tremors through the camp of the enemy. Every force that counted you out is about to watch me usher you into places forged by your perseverance. You didn't shortcut the process. You stayed. You remained under pressure and let me do the work only fire can accomplish. Now the door is opening, and you're walking out whole. No smoke. No soot. No chains. Just clarity, fire-tested identity, and favor you didn't ask for. You're not who you were when this started. You're lighter, younger, truer, and because of that, what comes next will not look like what was. The heat that once felt unbearable was the very thing that awakened your mantle. And now, you're stepping into a landscape that will respond to the fire still burning inside of you. A holy flame that didn't extinguish in hardship but expanded. You're not coming out barely holding on. You're coming out drenched in promise. And everything around you is about to reflect the fact that you walked through something hot and came out holy. Nothing that came from your eyes went unnoticed. The tears that soaked your pillow in secret. The ones you wiped quickly before anyone could ask what was wrong. The quiet breakdowns behind closed doors, those weren't signs of weakness. They were seeds. Sacred, invisible offerings placed into the soil of surrender. You cried not just from pain but from longing. From desperation to understand what I was doing, to find meaning in moments that felt void of answers. But in those unspoken groans, you were moving heaven. You thought your silence was empty, but it echoed louder than words. You thought your weeping was wasteful, but it watered the roots of something eternal. I captured every drop. Not one slid down your face without divine recognition. I stored them not in jars, but in plans. Every tear was a line written in the script of transformation. You didn't even realize it, but while you were grieving, I was building. While your body shook with sorrow, your spirit grew stronger. While you curled up in moments of despair, I was laying foundations beneath you, solid ground that would soon carry the weight of blessing without buckling. The world didn't see you in that posture. No one clapped when you chose to worship through the sting. No audience stood to applaud when you remained faithful after loss. But I saw. I marked those moments as altars. Holy spaces where your heart met mine, raw and honest. And it was in those moments that the breakthrough began forming. Not in public, not through loud declarations, but through sacred stillness. Your tears taught you how to hear me without needing a miracle. They cleared out the noise and made room for sensitivity. You don't realize how closely you've been walking with me since then. The evidence of our intimacy isn't in how loudly you speak, but in how quickly you recognize my presence now. That kind of discernment only comes through brokenness. Only those who've been stripped of pride can carry this level of peace. You didn't get here by chance, you came through pressing. And now, the platform is ready. Not a stage made for show, but a place of stability built on endurance. The things you prayed for while shaking, those are now manifesting. The wisdom you asked for when no one understood you, it's about to overflow into others. You don't just carry revelation, you carry residue from your refining. You're not trying to inspire. You're releasing impact without trying. Because what was birthed in you through mourning has now matured into authority. People will ask you how you walk with such grace. They'll wonder how you remain calm in rooms full of chaos. But they won't see that it was in your weeping that you became rooted. The tears 40 pathways where faith can grow freely. You became unshakable not because everything made sense, but because you trusted me when nothing did. And now, I'm lifting you not to parade you, but to place you in visibility so others can find hope. The breakthrough you're stepping into is not just personal, it's generational. The pain you processed in secret broke patterns that tried to follow your bloodline. And now, what once flowed through your family as fear is being replaced with favor. What once repeated as trauma is now transforming into testimony. You wept alone, but your harvest will be shared. You mourned in shadows, but your victory will shine. You held on through nights that tried to break you, and now I'm bringing you into mornings drenched in joy you didn't even ask for. This isn't a reward, it's a reveal. I'm showing you what I built in the backdrop of your tears. And what's rising now is proof that I waste nothing. Not even heartbreak. Not even confusion. Not even seasons where you didn't have the words. I use it all. And now, the evidence will be undeniable. You'll look around and realize every tear had a purpose, and every one became a brick beneath your breakthrough. That stirring you kept brushing off, the recurring thoughts that interrupted your days, the patterns that kept appearing in different conversations or moments you weren't overthinking. That was me. I've been speaking in ways you didn't know were messages, using subtle movement to get your attention, not because I was hiding, but because I was awakening you. I don't always speak through thunder and fire. Sometimes I come in repetition, in quiet nudges, in patterns so specific they bypass coincidence. And every time you pause to ask, "Is this you?" It was. I wasn't trying to confuse you. I was inviting you deeper. The dreams that unsettled you weren't random. The numbers that kept appearing weren't meaningless. The names that echoed over days. The feelings that rose out of nowhere. The verses that appeared exactly when you needed them. I was weaving language into your atmosphere. I've been dropping pieces of clarity into your path, not to overwhelm, but to awaken a language between us that doesn't require words. I've never stopped speaking, but I've been teaching you how to listen differently. You were trained to expect one form of communication, but I've been revealing myself in layers you're just now beginning to discern. Those moments of goosebumps in stillness, that was my nearness. The urgency in your chest when you hesitated to move forward in a certain direction, that was my warning. The unexpected peace after you almost made a wrong turn, that was my hand routing you gently. I've been showing you which way to go, not just with instruction, but with confirmation. I use everything: nature, music, silence, timing, colors, timing of interruptions, because my voice is not confined to one method. You've wondered if you were just being overly sensitive, but what you call sensitivity, I call spiritual intelligence. Your ability to pick up on my movements is a gift, not a burden. You don't need to second-guess every feeling. You need to trust that your spirit has been trained to recognize what's holy. The more you lean into those subtle confirmations, the clearer they'll become. I don't play games with your heart. I don't send signs to frustrate or confuse you. Every signal has purpose. Every shift carries direction. Even when it didn't make sense at first, you'll begin to see how those seemingly small moments were all connected, painting a much larger picture. The pieces you collected over months are forming a message that I'm about to unveil fully. And when you look back, you'll see how it was never silence, it was strategy. You didn't miss anything. I was never trying to hide. I was preparing your spirit to recognize nuance, to hear what others miss. Because what I'm calling you into requires more than surface-level hearing. You'll be leading others soon, and they'll need someone who's trained in the art of divine awareness. Someone who doesn't need the sky to split in two to believe that I'm speaking. Someone who can see my fingerprints in the everyday. That's you. That's why I've been awakening your perception. What felt like subtlety was actually sacred training. I trust you with secrets. I trust you to steward the invisible. I trust you to respond when others dismiss. You've been asking me for a sign, but in reality, I've been giving you hundreds. You've simply been waiting for them to look how you imagined. But now, I'm pulling back the curtain. I'm revealing how it's all been connected. What you sensed, what you saw, what you felt, it's about to align. And when it does, your confidence will grow, not in yourself, but in our connection. You'll know when I speak, not because it's loud, but because it's familiar. I'm refining your discernment. You'll walk into rooms and instantly know what's of me and what isn't. You'll pause at the right moments without needing explanation. You will say yes without hesitation, because you will trust what you're sensing. The signs weren't just hints, they were invitations. And now, the message is clear. You didn't imagine it. You heard me. And now, because you listened when the signal was faint, I'm about to speak with unmistakable clarity. Stop doubting what you already know deep within. The ache that's been echoing in your soul. The prayer you've repeated more times than you can count. The longing for an undeniable response from me. I am answering you here and now. This isn't coincidence. This isn't random timing. This is me, pulling you close to whisper what your spirit has already begun to suspect. You are not lost, and your path is not unclear. The confirmation you've been pleading for has been waiting to meet you in this moment. I've seen the way you second-guess your discernment, wondering if you've heard correctly or wandered too far to receive direction. But I'm here to clear the fog. I've always been speaking through peace that interrupts panic, through impressions that settle deeper than thought, through nudges that you feel before you can explain. And now I'm saying it plainly. You are exactly where I need you to be for what's next to begin. Don't minimize this moment. Don't scroll past this paragraph looking for something more obvious. The clarity you've craved is not coming later, it's being spoken now. This is the signal you asked for on the days you felt unsure and almost gave up. The reason it feels different now is because I've aligned your ears to hear me without filters. You're not imagining it. You're being reassured by the one who holds your future in his hands. You're not crazy for sensing change in the atmosphere. You're not making it up when your heart starts racing as you read this. That's your spirit responding to the weight of divine truth. You've grown in ways you don't even see yet, and this confirmation is arriving not to hype you, but to anchor you. I'm not trying to impress you with mystery, I'm grounding you in certainty. The waiting you've endured wasn't a punishment. It was a preparation for moments like this where doubt tries to whisper, and I shout louder with love. You've looked for signs in the sky, in songs, in circumstances, and I've used them all. But now I'm meeting you with unmistakable clarity, that idea you're hesitant to move on. I'm breathing on it. The door you've been staring at, wondering if you should knock again. I'm opening it. That relationship you've questioned, the connection you've replayed in your mind, trying to discern its place in your story. I'm showing you now where it stands. Trust what you feel in your spirit, not the fear that clouds your mind. I don't deal in confusion. I speak peace. When something is for me, it won't bring torment. It may stretch you, yes, but it will settle something inside of you that chaos cannot replicate. This moment is sacred because you dared to ask me for more than noise. You asked for confirmation with substance. And I'm not just delivering a feeling, I'm giving you evidence. You will look back on this as the day everything began to make sense. You've been faithful with fragments, and now I'm stitching them into a pattern that proves I've been present all along. The pieces are aligning. The questions are beginning to dissolve. You don't need another sign, this is your instruction. Move forward. Take the step. Trust the guidance. Let go of the need for everyone else to agree. What I've revealed to your spirit does not require validation from others. I'm confirming what you already sensed, and because you've waited without demanding proof, I'm rewarding you with revelation. Don't ignore this moment. It's holy. It's intentional. It's tailored specifically for you. You've asked me, Lord, if this is really you, show me somehow. And this is me, responding not through thunder or lightning, but through these words that have found you in perfect timing. This is the assurance your soul has cried out for. The wondering ends here. The sign is in front of you. And now, it's time to respond not with fear, but with confidence that heaven just said yes. There is something happening in the atmosphere around you that cannot be ignored. This moment, this very evening, has been appointed in the unseen long before it reached your calendar. It carries a spiritual weight that sets it apart from every ordinary night that came before it. While you were going through your day unaware, I was arranging divine intersections in realms your natural eyes cannot perceive. This is not a passing hour to be treated casually, it is a transition point, a spiritual hinge between where you've been and where you are now being launched. You sense the urgency, the stirring that doesn't allow you to rest like you normally would. That's not anxiety, it's activation. That uneasiness you feel is not confusion, it's the breaking open of prophetic alignment. Something holy is arriving, and I needed you to be awake in your spirit to catch it. I'm visiting you now with a presence that won't be explained through logic or routine. I'm disrupting familiar patterns not to unsettle you, but to alert you. Because this night has been carved out with intention, separated from the common, filled with purpose that touches the eternal. The prayers you've whispered on previous nights, the petitions you've laid at my feet with tired hands, the declarations you made when no one was around to hear, they've all gathered around this hour like incense. And now the altar is being lit with fire that doesn't fade. This night is heavy with fulfillment, because I am moving things you didn't even know were stuck. Chains are breaking off of things you stopped praying about. Delays are unraveling. Answers are traveling toward you faster than you think, and the reason you feel the intensity now is because the veil is thinner in this hour than it's been in a long time. I chose this night not because of your worthiness, but because of my timing. I'm doing something irrevocable, releasing a shift so specific that tomorrow will not resemble yesterday in any dimension. You've entered a window of divine transaction, where things sealed in the heavens are now touching earth. And you are not a spectator in this, you are a participant. You're not just watching something sacred happen. You're being written into it. There are things being transferred to your name right now: favor, authority, responsibility, clarity. You don't need to wait until morning to call it a new season. The change begins in the stillness of this very hour. The atmosphere knows it. Creation feels it. And your spirit is awakening to it now. There are dreams that will be stirred in your sleep tonight. Not random images, but direct downloads, visions that carry language for the next stage of your assignment. Don't ignore them. Write them down. They aren't imagination, they are impartation. You will wake up with direction that wasn't there before. You'll sense an ease to things that once felt tangled. That's not coincidence, it's culmination. This night is doing something final in the old and birthing something foundational in the new. The war you've been in has reached its closing scene. Not because of your striving, but because of your surrender. And now heaven is answering with movement. I have scheduled this hour for release. What others miss while they scroll, I'm giving to you because you remained sensitive. You didn't harden. You stayed open. You listened, even when it felt like no voice was coming. And now I'm speaking with clarity that penetrates every wall built by disappointment. Let go of assumptions. Take off at you. Open wide your spirit. There is nothing ordinary about this hour. Angels are being dispatched with instructions written in fire. Old cycles are being dismantled while you sit in stillness. Chains that you've carried for years are being shattered in silence. You won't have to wrestle tonight. You'll receive. Not by force, but by faith. This isn't a night of trying, this is a night of transfer. I've chosen this time, this exact breath, to remind you. I do not forget appointments. And this night was never meant to pass unnoticed. It has been marked in glory, and now it is unfolding in you. You've wrestled long enough. You've carried questions like weights, quiet ones you were too afraid to voice out loud. Even when you kept walking, even when you kept praying, the lingering "what if I'm wrong" hovered behind every act of obedience. You trusted me, but beneath the trust was a trembling, the kind that made you wonder if the steps you took were leading you toward something real or if you were just hoping against hope. I saw it. I never judged you for it. I knew what was happening beneath the surface of your strength, and I stayed. I never turned away from your hesitation. In fact, I drew closer to your humanity. Your fragile belief didn't repel me, it pulled me near. But now, everything is about to change. I'm stepping into the space between your confidence and your uncertainty and filling it with evidence that can't be shaken. The moment you're standing in is not like others. This is not another guess. This is the unveiling. This is the hour when speculation ceases and certainty speaks louder than fear ever could. I'm about to pull back what's been veiled. The fog is lifting. The unknowns are collapsing under the weight of what I prepared to show you. Not just glimpses, not just impressions. Full, unmistakable confirmation that the path you've chosen was not a wandering, it was alignment. The reason the pressure increased before this moment is because the clarity I'm about to deliver needed to break through barriers you didn't even know were blocking your vision. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared to see from a higher place. I've been purifying your perception, clearing out assumptions, detoxing your discernment, not to frustrate you but to fine-tune you. Because what I'm about to reveal cannot be misread. I don't just want you to feel guided, I want you to know you are established. And so I've waited until this appointed time to show you what will leave no room for wavering. The things you doubted, the decisions you questioned, the assignments you tried to evaluate by logic, I'm placing them before you in such clarity that you won't even have to ask for another sign. This isn't going to be a whisper, it will be a roar in your spirit. You'll recognize my movement in it immediately. You'll see how I've been orchestrating each encounter, each delay, each yes and each no, not randomly, but masterfully. You'll stand in awe not just at what I'm doing, but at how intimately I've done it. You look at what unfolds and wonder why you ever question me. Not in shame, but in astonishment at how precise my timing really is. And those doubts that once held weight in your heart, they're about to fall flat. They will have no more ground to stand on. Because I am not revealing something temporary, I'm establishing something eternal. I'm not just responding to your questions, I'm building a monument out of them. A memorial of how you waited even when you weren't sure what was next. I'm honoring your honesty. Your process was messy, but it was sacred. I'm not threatened by your internal storms, I calm them. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. You will no longer live in the tension of wondering if you're off track. You will not carry the anxiety of spiritual guessing games. I'm placing before you proof, fruit, favor, and divine markers that all point back to this truth: you heard me right. You followed the right voice. You chose the right surrender. You listened when it was hard. You obeyed without applause. And now, I'm rewarding that with a depth of clarity you've never known. This isn't just about peace, it's about permanence. I'm grounding your faith in a way that no lie can shake it again. The question marks are becoming exclamation points. What you once whispered as hope, you will soon declare as testimony. This is the moment I've chosen to settle every hesitation, not with explanation, but with manifestation. What I show you next will be so exact, so detailed, so timely, you will no longer ask, "Is this God?" You'll simply say, "Only God could have done this." There was a moment you stopped praying for it, not out of disbelief, but because you buried the desire beneath disappointment. You tucked it away, telling yourself you were fine if it never came, that maybe it wasn't meant for you after all. You convinced your heart to adjust to silence, to live without what once kept you up at night in hopeful longing. And yet, even when you let go of the words, I never let go of the intention. I never removed the promise. I never forgot what you asked for in tears. While your faith wavered, my commitment remained. You thought surrender meant it was over, but I saw it as trust. When you stopped striving, I started moving. You thought your silence was resignation, but it was actually the beginning of divine release. Because what you're about to see happen is not the result of effort, but of alignment. You laid it down. I picked it up. And now, without needing your strength or strategy, I'm bringing it to life. The very thing you stopped waiting for is about to knock on your door, not in pieces, not in confusion, but whole, undeniable, and saturated with my fingerprints. You forgot how to dream about it, but I never stopped building it. I've been constructing the answer while you've been healing. I've been shaping the fulfillment while you were learning how to rest. And now that your heart is not clinging in desperation, it's finally positioned to receive with gratitude. The miracle you once obsessed over is no longer a weight, it's about to be a wonder. You won't have to chase it. You won't have to convince anyone it's real. You won't need to orchestrate a path or beg for timing to cooperate. I've already placed every piece in motion. What once looked impossible is beginning to break through the natural and emerge in front of your eyes. Slowly at first, then suddenly. And when it comes, it will carry a fragrance of my glory that no one can mistake for coincidence. Others will stand in awe, but you'll know. You'll know this is what your heart whispered about in the dark. You will remember the days you almost gave up, and suddenly they will make sense. You'll realize I never needed you to make it happen, I just needed you to let me. Your waiting wasn't wasted. It was incubating. And with cultivating a soil inside of you that could hold what's coming without breaking. Had I sent it earlier, it would have overwhelmed you. But now, you're ready not just to receive it, but to protect it. This miracle won't just bless you, it will shift atmospheres around you. It will touch places in your family, your calling, your community, even your generational line. Because this isn't small. I'm not in the business of delivering halfway answers. I'm bringing the kind of breakthrough that reroutes history, the kind that restores what was lost, redeems what was broken, and revives what was called dead. I'm bringing beauty from ashes, but not in vague metaphor, literal transformation, visible impact, irreversible blessing. This is what you stopped expecting, and that's why it's happening now. You're not clinging to it anymore. You're not trying to earn it. You simply allowed me to be God. And because of that posture, because of that surrender, I'm responding with power. You'll see it unfold in ways that even your wildest dreams didn't dare include. You'll see details that prove I heard your prayers word for word. This won't feel familiar. It will feel holy. It will carry weight, not pressure. It will bring joy without anxiety. You won't feel like you're holding something fragile. You'll feel like you've stepped into something secure. And you will know that this miracle didn't arrive because you got everything right. It arrived because I'm faithful. I made a promise, and I'm fulfilling it, even after you stopped checking the door, even after you stopped rehearsing timelines, even after you stopped refreshing your hope. I never stopped working. And now, you're about to witness the arrival of what only heaven could deliver precisely when you least expected it. Amen.